It is out of these redefined and redirected human relationships that the economic, political, social, cultural, and moral elements of liberalism spring. And we're going to take a look at three different doors that open up into liberalism. The front door, the back door, and the trap door. Well, the front door. Let's look at the front door to liberalism. You know, liberals approach life with the idea that freedom is a very desirable goal. Freedom. Freedom to do this, freedom to do that, freedom to be unconstrained, freedom to leave off the ancient, worn-out customs, traditions, dogmas, morals of the old folks, the preachers, the teachers, the little-minded people, you know, and to experience your full potential. Freedom too, freedom too. We don't want to forget, though, that freedom too also means freedom from. And the freedom that the liberal desires essentially is the freedom from relationships. Freedom from relationships. Liberals like to tell us that we should be free to determine our own set of values, that we live in a pluralistic society, in a pluralistic world, and that every youngster growing up should have a blank slate and look around him and decide for himself what values fit him and what values he's going to adopt for his life. I'm going to suggest to you today that that approach is an intellectual swindle. That there are not, as the liberals would have us presume, millions of sets of values out there, and that you can invent the 1,000,001st set of values at your pleasure, whatever turns you on. No, there is really just one set of values. There is only one norm of human conduct which allows stable, long-term, trusting relationships between human beings to thrive. And that is the set of values which is given to us shorthand in the Ten Commandments. You simply can't have a long-term, fulfilling, liberating relationship with another person if that person is stealing from you whenever they want to, or if you're stealing from them, or if that person doesn't tell you the truth, or if that person covets everything you've got. And of course there are the sexual norms that figure very, very strongly in this whole pattern of relationships as well. And you cannot have a stable, dependable, fulfilling, gratifying, liberating, long-term relationship without mutual adherence to the only set of values that there really is. No, there's just one set of values, and everything else is non-value. Everything else, do what you will, do what you want to do. Moral relativistic approach of liberalism results in interpersonal chaos. And for that reason, the liberal is forced sooner or later to cast the problem of achieving a successful society in terms of management and control. The liberal approach to bringing society to a higher plane is a management and control approach. And looking at human society from a management and control standpoint leads naturally to a hierarchical view of human relationships. Human relationships become not interpersonal, but interpositional, not mutual and voluntary, but directed and prescribed. Now, we joked about the voluminous Sanhedrin Sanitary Code earlier, but it's reminiscent of the 65,000 or so pages of federal regulations that come off every year that a person probably couldn't even read as fast as they are published. And yet every citizen in the United States is duty-bound to obey those laws, directed and prescribed. Well, because the liberals' very approach to society postulates hierarchical control of the masses, elitism is unavoidable and is inherent in whatever centralized policies and programs which the liberal proposes. Indeed, such centralization and hierarchy are the only kinds of possibilities which the liberal presuppositional framework allows to exist. The front door to liberalism: moral relativism, hierarchical imposition of order backed by coercion, leading to an elitist, classist, inequitable society. The front door to liberalism. The back door to liberalism. Gimme. Gimme. Give me my daily bread today, tomorrow. Okay, but not give me, Lord. Give me government. Substituting a human agency for God to guarantee your temporal security. Freedom from your responsibility under God. Freedom from your personal responsibilities to your neighbors. Let's make the system work so that charity is automatic, so that I don't really have to worry when Bill over here breaks his leg and is laid up for a while. He just gets his check in the mail and he's taken care of. Life is too hard for me to deal directly with the reality of this world. Genesis chapter 3, verse 19. Reality, reality. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it thou wast taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. Work. It's a fact of life. Work was even a fact of life before the fall of man, incidentally. They were given work to do to dress and keep the Garden of Eden. Maintenance and enhancement of a creation fresh from the hand of God. Amazing. Amazing that human beings could take a creation fresh from God's hand and yet enhance it by labor. That is absolutely mind-boggling. But today, of course, there's the additional element of toil with our work. There is insecurity in this life. There are setbacks. All the more reason that the unique set of values, which are referred to, of truth, honesty, biblical morality, faithfulness, worship of God, must be the glue that ties us together. The back door to liberalism. Well, I say the back door. The delegation, the abdication of my personal responsibilities to get a free lunch. The back door to liberalism. Now how about the trap door to liberalism? The trap door to liberalism is the door of misguided good intentions. And this is a peculiar avenue into liberalism which unfortunately can trip us up, particularly as adherents to the Christian faith, if we're not careful. The alleged moral justification of liberalism goes something like this. People are out there suffering. Some of us other people aren't suffering. In fact, we perhaps have more than we're able to use right at the moment. That's unfair. That ice cream cone that you ate yesterday evening at McDonald's or at Brahms, sin. You had no right to that as long as there's one person starving anywhere in the world. Unfair. Obviously, the solution to that problem is let's get an enlightened group of people to study, to determine how to allocate resources fairly, and to simply extract those resources, which we judge to be excessive in the possession of some, bestow them upon those who have need. It's a very attractive, very moral-sounding system, this trapdoor to liberalism, stealing from some to meet the needs of others. And therein lies the central pitfall, is that in order to justify redistribution morally, we have to resort to moral relativism. Just as the secular liberal does, who simply starts openly with a system of denying morality. The Christian liberal says, my stealing from some is justified in order to meet the needs of others. Now, of course, he wouldn't call it stealing. There's always this semantic thing going on, you know. But let's examine, let's see if we can get a little bit more background here biblically. Well, I wonder where the scribes and Pharisees, now possibly of our two groups of people, the masses there, they wanted Jesus, to give them a free lunch whenever they felt hungry. And maybe they were the backdoor to liberalism. Gimme. The scribes and Pharisees, what door did they enter? Well, it's maybe a little harder to tell. We know that they seem to be very moral people. However, we do note that they practiced moral relativism as well. Matthew 15, verses 3 through 6, Jesus tells them, "You have made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition." Where in order to serve the temple, the Pharisees and scribes exempted people from their duty to their parents, to their elderly parents, stealing from parents to serve the temple. Let us do evil, that good may come, whose damnation is just, St. Paul says in Romans chapter 3. In addition, the Pharisees had a number of other grave moral faults. These included physical abuse, extortion, hypocrisy, and others. You can read about them in Matthew chapter 23, verses 4, for example, verses 25 through 28. Well, what about this thing? After all, it does sound plausible. Everything we have belongs to God. If we're not doing our stewardship right by giving properly when we see needs around us, as we're exhorted to do, does that maybe give the... Maybe somebody ought to come in and take something away and give it. The dominion mandate, Genesis chapter 1, was given to mankind. Replenish the earth, subdue it, have dominion.